Okay, Borodar, Jock and Val, thank you very much for attending the Audit Committee meeting on Monday the 20th of March at 9:30. And I will start with apologies, please.
I have apologies this morning from Councillor Parry-Jones and Councillor Smith.
Okay, and did we have one councillor who's going to be late, did we say? Or are they in now?
Councillor Arwin Roberts.
Okay, all right, Jock and Val. And I'll bring in Matt just to go through the declaring of interest for today's meeting.
Well, Chair, if it's any members have declarations of interest that relate to matters on the agenda today, now's the time to declare them. Although, of course, if within the course of a meeting anything occurs to a member that hadn't at this time, then they can declare them at this time, Chair. So now's just the time to invite any such declarations, Chair.
Okay, would anyone like to declare on any items for today, please? No, I can't see anyone indicating, so I'll move on to
Chair,
item.
did you wish to declare a personal interest on an item on the agenda today?
Does it actually mention the site?
There's no need to do that. Just the agenda item, Chair, and the nature of the interest.
Yeah.
The nature of the interest.
So yeah, so item A for the training centre as chair of planning. If there's any relation to that, I'll declare just a personal one today. Jock and Val, thank you.
And that's because, just for clarity for anybody watching the recording, that's because there is an exemption within the code which says that if the matter relates to another relevant authority to which the member is also a member, then that is only a personal interest.
Okay, that's fine. Any others, please, members? Okay, I'm going to move on to notice of urgent matters. I have none, but what I am going to do now is I believe it's Matt's last meeting. So Jock and Val, Matt, you've always been very accessible and very helpful. So best wishes. I think we are going to see him maybe in a few other meetings, but I think this is the last official one. So best wishes from ourselves and officers on all your help, Jock and Val.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and I'm going to go now to the minutes of the meeting on 12th of December, and I'm just going to do it by page, and I assume that you've all read the minutes. So page 1, page 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, are we happy with those minutes, please?
Cynnig.
Jock and Val, can I have a proposer, Councillor Jones, and a seconder, Councillor Roberts, please. And then I'll go through again for matters arising. Just, oh, sorry, Stuart, did you have an issue?
I've just got one matter to discuss regarding the national pay negotiations, please, Chair, on the matters arising section of the agenda.
Okay. Okay, I'll just go through and bring that up at the end then. So page 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So Stuart's indicated like to speak. Anyone else, please? No. Okay. Over to you, Stuart, please. Jock and Val.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Borodar members, good morning. I'd just like to give you an update on the national pay negotiations for firefighters that have been taking place. So the Chief Fire Officer has regularly briefed members of North Wales Fire and Rescue Authority as to the progress of the national pay negotiations for firefighters, and also the service's preparation for potential industrial action. Recently, many of you will have heard on the news that the National Joint Council's pay offer during talks on the 7th of February 2023, where the fire service employees put forward a revised pay offer, which included a 7% pay rise backdated to July last year, and another 5% from July this year. The Fire Brigades Union then balloted its members with a recommendation to accept the pay offer, and the outcome of this ballot was overwhelmingly acceptance, with a turnout of 84% of all eligible members, of which 96% voted to accept. We welcome any settlement which avoids industrial action and supports our staff who need a pay rise. And North Wales Fire and Rescue Service has officially stood down all preparations for business continuity now in preparation for industrial action. However, it should be noted that there is no additional funding linked to this pay offer, which means the money will have to be funded from the service budget and can only be done so by a change in emergency cover. Our focus this year will be to provide you with options through the emergency cover review to find the appropriate balance between the challenges we face as a fire and rescue service to protect the people of North Wales and ensuring that we have a sustainable budget going forward. Thank you, Chair. That's all I wish to say on that matter.
Okay. Anyone want to speak on that, or can I move on, please?
Chair, could I speak?
Of course you can, yeah.
I'm really pleased that we've come to an agreement, or the UK government's come to an agreement with the FPU. I'm really bothered to understand that they've settled without offering any of their own money. I find that quite bizarre. If you're in a negotiation to offer a 5% pay rise without offering any additional money seems completely bizarre to me, and that's the first I've understood of that deal. Felly, so'n bosib I gael rhyw fath o ymateb I hynny? Would it be possible to get some kind of feedback as to how acceptable that is? Because obviously we'll have to find the money, won't we?
Okay, so if members are happy, I'm happy to talk to the chair to agree some sort of response, which obviously will be shared with members. I think it's a valid point because it's easy to negotiate without putting new money in. So it's not been fulfilled, and you're quite right to pick it up. So if members are happy, I'm happy to talk and raise that issue with the chair. Members happy with that? Okay. Joachim Vow, any other questions? Or can I move on to item 6? Oh, sorry, Councillor Roberts, please, Joachim Vow.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd. Dwi'n meddwl bod o'n hynod o bwysig hefyd bod ni fel cynghorwyr ar hwn yn mynd yn ôl at arweinyddion ein cyngor a gadael nhw wybod am hyn, oherwydd fel y gwyddoch y llynedd mi rhoddwyd yr awdurdodau lleol mewn sefyllfa anodd iawn oherwydd y cynnydd yn cyllid yr awdurdod yma. Felly dwi'n meddwl bod o'n bwysig bod ni'n rhoi yr heads up I arweinyddion y cyngor ynglyn â'r ffaith bod setliad wedi wneud ac eto ddim arian ychwanegol wedi dod i'r fei. Diolch yn fawr.
Okay. I'm just going to bring in our treasurer, if I may, David. Diolch yn fawr, David.
Diolch Cadeirydd, a diolch i'r aelodau am wneud y pwynt. Oedden ni wrth gwrs am sôn am hyn rhywfaint yn eitem 8 ar y rhaglen bore yma, lle mae gennym ni diweddariad ar y gyllideb, a fe Helen a fi'n dweud chydig bach mwy am hynny, ond mae'r pwynt gen yr cynghorydd rwan am gyfathrebu efo'r arweinyddion prifysredwyr ag aelodau eraill yn eich awdurdodau lleol yn un bwysig iawn wrth symud ymlaen, achos mae'r dwi'n eisiau dwy'n tan Helen I gyd wedyn, ond mi oeddan ni'n wynebu 1.5 miliwn o fwlch beth bynnag ar ôl gwasgu o gwmpas y Nadolig. Mae'r setliad cyflog yma'n golygu bod 1 miliwn ychwanegol i'w ffeindio naill ai drwy arbedion a neu drwy godi'r lefi blwyddyn nesaf. Wedyn mae'r cyfathrebu yna efo'r cynghora sy'n wynebu'r lefi yna am fod yn holl bwysig. Wedyn diolch am yr sylw a ddod ni'n ôl at o dan eitem 8 ar y rhaglen.
Okay, thank you. As you say, we're picking it up later, but thanks for that. And I will move on now to item 6. If there's no further questions, please, Joachim Vow. So, provision of internal audit, and I'm going to hand over to the officer in charge of this, Helen. Joachim Vow, Helen.
Bore da pawb, and thank you, Chair. This item on the agenda relates to the provision of internal audit services. What I'd like to do is provide yourselves as members with both the regulatory background, the provision of the services, but also to consider the future arrangements within the authority. The basis for the need for internal audit comes in the account and audit regulations for Wales, and they require the authority to make proper and effective arrangements for internal control. And whilst these regulations aren't prescriptive on exactly how this is achieved, they set out that the arrangements must cover risk and financial management. You'll appreciate that this is very far-reaching in terms of its duty, and actually it forms part of our day-to-day governance in a number of key areas. So, for example, we have a scheme of delegation which ensures that our decisions and commitments are made at the right level within the organisation. We also have really comprehensive financial regulations, we have contract procedure rules and day-to-day processes, to name but a few. And you'll appreciate that these are very comprehensive. So, but the regulations also require that an effective internal audit of the internal control arrangements is undertaken. Therefore, as members, internal audit provides you with an objective assessment of whether the controls are present and operating as effectively as they should be. But all of internal audit in the public sector is governed by the public sector internal audit standards. So really that's to provide you with a set of assurances that your internal audit function is doing what they're meant to do to a standard. And once a year, the head of internal audit is required to provide yourselves with a statement of internal control, and that then forms part of the annual governance statement. So from that, you can see that internal audit is an integral part of our arrangements. Internally within the authority, for many years now, the internal audit provision has been undertaken by Conway County Borough Council. And that's worked really, really well, as Conway has also provided the financial services to the authority. However, more recently, these functions have been brought back in-house because we now have the capacity. And given also some internal staffing challenges at Conway, the arrangements will come to an end this month. The paper on the agenda today seeks approval to enter into a procurement exercise to let the internal contract, and initial work has already been undertaken about the feasibility around this. There is a procurement framework that we can utilise to identify suitable suppliers, and it's proposed within the paper that this work is progressed. It's important that potential suppliers have the relevant skills and experience, as well as the public sector and fire service knowledge and understanding. And clearly that's going to be quite a limited market for us. Ultimately, the appointment rests with the audit committee, and it's further outlined within the paper or proposed that this is delegated to a panel to include chair of the audit committee, deputy chair of the audit committee, and also David as the authority's treasurer. I'm happy to take any queries or questions on the paper. Chair, thank you.
Okay, Jocharo, for that. And obviously, thank you for the help Conway have been giving us. And I'll take any questions if there is any. Okay, our treasurer, please, David, Jocharo.
Ie, diolch, Cadeirydd, jyst gan bod am cwestiynau eraill, na i ddod fewn gyntaf. Does na ddim beirniadaeth o'r wasanaeth gen Conwy yma, mater o mond yn briodol i mynd allan i gaffael o bryd i'w gilydd, ac mae'r amser yn briodol rwan lle. Ac dydi archwilio mewnol bellach ddim yn bur ariannol, ond maen nhw yn darparu sicrwydd o briodoldeb ariannol yn ei gwaith ar rheolaethau perthnasol mewn lle. Wedyn mae gen i ddiddordeb mawr mewn sicrhau gwasanaeth archwilio mewnol, addas ac effeithiol. Wedyn, swn i'n efo diddordeb mewn eista ar y panel bach yma jyst i helpu Helen efo'r apwyntio ac gymharu'r beth sy'n yna fel darparwyr. Wedyn, dwi'n meddwl sa'n briodol i efallai heblaw bod neb arall yn rhoi gynnig ymlaen, illa bysa fi'n ar cadeirydd ac is-cadeirydd y pwyllgor hwn yn banel addas i Helen, i gynorthwyo Helen yn y gwaith.
Cynnig yr argymelliad.
Okay, I'll just run that past. Okay. Any thoughts on that, members, please? Or are we happy with that proposal?
Cynnig yr argymelliad.
Okay, Councillor Owen, you have a seconder, please, Councillor Jones. And then are we all happy, please? Okay. Okay. Is that okay, Matt?
Although those recommendations were moved and seconded and carried, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. And Helen, do you need anything else, or are you happy? Jock about?
No, thank you, Chair. That's excellent, and we'll ensure that some dates are in the diary to progress this.
Okay,
you.
and thanks for the report, Helen. It was very thorough and very clear. So, Jock about, appreciated. Okay, everyone happy if I move on to item 7, please? Okay, I'm going to move on to item 7, which is Audit Wales Annual Audit Summary 2022. And I believe that's yourself again, Helen, Jock about.
It is indeed. This is a very short item and it's in for information only. What the report does is brings together into a single document a summary of the work of the authority's external auditors, Audit Wales. This work was undertaken during 2022 and it covers the external audit of the authority's financial statements, the annual governance statement, the local government measure 2009, which requires the authority to demonstrate improvement, as well as their local projects, which included the carbon emission reductions. All of the work undertaken in relation to the authority is highlighted within the report, and each of these pieces of work has been subject to a separate report to the Audit Committee and Fire and Rescue Authority. On that basis, I don't propose to work through the report in detail. Safe to note that we've accepted all of the recommendations, and against each aspect, there will be work to address any issues raised. I am happy to take any questions from members in relation to that aspect, but I'd also like to highlight that within the report, there are some additional projects undertaken by Audit Wales, and they relate to the local government sector as a whole. And therefore, whilst that work hasn't necessarily been done within our authority, it's worth noting for completeness in terms of the relevance to us. So, Chair, I'm happy to take any questions on the report, but this was for information only.
Okay, Jock and Bow, any questions or points? Or are we just happy to note the report? Okay, everyone seems happy with that. And again, Jock and Bow, thank you. Very clear report. And I will go on to now item 8, so don't get confused. Item 8, we change it around a bit, the budget, and the subject is the 2023-24 revenue budget. Our treasurer, David, is going to go through this for us. Jock and Bow, David.
Diolch, Chair. Ie, da ni di trafod dipyn ar hyn yn barod, ond fel o'n i'n deud ar ddechrau'r cyfarfod efo'r sefyllfa ar droiad y flwyddyn, ar i chi osod cyllideb a lefi ar gyfer y flwyddyn sy'n cychwyn yn Ebrill, efo cynnydd yn yr ardal o 9.9%, ac mi oedd hynny yn golygu bod ni yn wynebu bwlch o ryw 1.4 miliwn, ac mi oedd y gwaith i fynd i'r afol o hynny, mi oedd yna amryw o ddim argymhellion ond syniadau fydda'n medru pontio'r bwlch yna wrth symud ymlaen. Wrth i ni gael y newyddion o'r Tundeb Tal Cenedlaethol gen Llywodraeth y Deyrnas Unedig, sydd yn galonogol i'n gweithlu. Mae'n creu mwy o gur pen yn un ariannol. Mae'r gwahaniaeth rhwng be oedden ni wedi rhoi i fewn yn y gyllideb, a dwi yn cofio cael yn herio ar yr lefelau yma yn y cyfarfod yn Ionawr, yn y gweithgor yn sicr, ac mi oedden ni'n dweud, wel, os da ni'n codi'r cynnydd chwyddiant rhagdybiaethol yn yr gyllideb, mi fydd y lefi mynd i fyny, ac mi oedden ni'n cutting it fine fel yna Sais yn dweud. Wedyn, oedden ni wedi rhagdybio 5% yn 22-23 a 4% yn 23-24. Mae wedi troi allan yn 7% a 5%. Mae'r gwahaniaeth tronis rhwng yr ffigurau heini ar gyfer y gyllideb wrth symud ymlaen yn filiwn. Ar ben yr 1.4 miliwn o gynnon ni gynt, sy'n rhoi cyfanswm cronis o 2.4 miliwn o fwlch i ni fod yn mantoli. Mae hynny'n heriol iawn. A dim ond 2 ffordd sgynnon ni o wneud hynny. Un ydy ffeindio arbedion parhaol, ac yn ail ydy cynyddu incwm, a'r unig ffactor o incwm dran ni gynyddu o'r sylwedd yna ydy'r ardal ar yr awdurdodau lleol. Yn amlwg, dydy toriadau a'r maint yna ddim yn wrthdant neb, ond yn amlwg hefyd i'r trethdalwyr a'r cynghora sy'n awdurdodau cyfansoddol, pe bai ni'n rhaid ar gyd ar yr ardal, fyddwn ni'n sôn am rhywbeth fel 20% o gynnydd blwyddyn nesaf. Dwi'n credu bydd rhaid ni fod yn edrych ar hyn fel rhyw fath o gyfaddawd wrth symud ymlaen. Fedra ni'n ysgoi cynnydd ardal go sylweddol blwyddyn nesaf, ond fyddwn ni yn hefyd yn chwilio am arbedion. Mae rhain yn wedi bod yn yr gweithgor wythnos dwytha, lle mae'r adolygiad o'r fire cover yn mynd ymlaen, ac da ni'n ddim wedi comisiynu yr ymgynghorwyr rheini yn benodol i fynd i chwilio am arbedion, ond gobeithio bydd i cynigio nhw yn gallu dod i fyny efo rhai opsiynau i chi fydda'n rhaid rhyw fath o arbedion i ni wrth symud ymlaen. Mae'r ffigurau yma'n sylweddol iawn yn gyd-destun cyllideb yr awdurdod, ac maen nhw yn anorfod, fedra ni'n osgoi talu'r gyflog newydd yma. Ac o ran y blwyddyn sy'n cychwyn rwan, da ni'n gallu byw just about o ddefnyddio arian 1 tro o reserfa, mwyn pontio'r diffyg am 1 blwyddyn. Mae hynny oherwydd penderfyniadau doeth a darbodus gyda chi fel rhai o aelodau'r awdurdod yma yn y gorffennol i roi ni mewn sefyllfa ddigon cry i oroesi am flwyddyn. Ond i hynny ddim am fod yn bosib hir dymor. Fydda ni mond defnyddio reserfa 1 tro, ac yn amlwg mae rhai o'r reserfa yna fydda ni'n defnyddio wedi cael i gosod i fyny yn lle cyntaf i bwrpas penodol. Wedyn, yn y tymor hir, fe rhaid ni ail ymweld â'r reserfa hynny a'i replenisio nhw. Ond yn y tymor byr, da ni'n gallu dygymod ar sefyllfa, ond mae'n dyn, a pe bai ni'n hitio rhyw fath o argyfwng arall yn ystod y flwyddyn ariannol nesaf, mae yna bosibilrwydd so rhaid i ni fynd yn ôl i'r awdurdodau cyfansoddol am be maen nhw'n galw'n supplementary levy. Ond does neb eisiau hynny ar y pwynt yma mewn amser, does roed y signals anghywir i gyd bod yna fwy o argyfwng na sy'n yna, bod ni ddim yn gallu rheoli pethau. Wedyn, dydy'r awdurdodau lleol ddim wedi cyllidebu ar gyfer rhywbeth ychwanegol. Wedyn, da ni'n eisiau just pasio'r broblem ymlaen fel shyfling rhywbeth, fel mae rhywun yn dweud. Wedyn, da ni am fod yn adult ar y peth, trio ddygymod o am flwyddyn, ac fydd rhaid i ni fod yn rhannu rhywfaint o'r boen erbyn hydref nesaf. Ac oedd y pwynt gen cynghorydd Austin Roberts, fydd rhaid ni fod yn dechrau cyfathrebu hyn efo'r awdurdodau cyfansoddol rwan, fel bod o ddim yn dod yn sioc iddyn nhw yn yr hydref. Helen, dwi'n yn siŵr os chdi na fi oedd am gyflwyno hwn, ond dwi wedi methu fod allan sy'n allweddol.
Thank you, David. I think just for the purposes of clarity, I think it's worth noting that there are 2 risks, the risk to 22-23 and also the risk to 23-24. So as you've just articulated, the only way to manage this risk that's come to fruition without actually the supplemental levy is the use of reserves. Those reserves will be significantly depleted. So I think what it does is bring into sharp focus the need for the emergency cover review to relook at the service provision and the associated costs. There are still residual risks, and the residual risk for us remains that the local government pay settlement for our staff condition to Green Book terms and conditions hasn't yet been finalised. We've had the indicative offer, which would put a further cost pressure in of about 130,000, but that's thus far not been accepted. So it is a very difficult position that we find ourselves in. But I think it's to give those to give yourselves as members assurances that we're looking at every opportunity this year to reduce down costs as much as we can. But absolutely, these costs cannot be absorbed through efficiency savings at all. Thank you.
Okay, just before I bring anyone in, can David or Helen, can we just clarify? It does seem odd that another body or government negotiates a pay increase, but then leaves us to sort it out. So is that normal? Because it feels very odd to me. So and I think we do need to touch on it, because the words used there by our treasurer was survive, and to be in that position isn't good. My other question, and then I'll go out to members, reserves, are our reserves what they should be after this? And then I'll bring in members, Jock about.
Thank you very much. If I could perhaps pick up certainly the first area. In terms of the negotiation is undertaken nationally, and that is their employer and employee representatives. So it is actually slightly removed from government, and there is representation from the Welsh Fire and Rescue authorities on that. The unfortunate reality of that, though, is that those national negotiations are binding on all authorities. So whilst we are wedded to that outcome, it then sits with ourselves to actually make arrangements internally to manage it. So you are quite correct. It is quite correct, though, that what we haven't experienced is any additional government funding to support this. So certainly not for 22-23 and certainly not for 23-24. So I think the working assumption by both the UK government is, and also the Welsh government, is that this will have to be met through our own existing mechanism.
Okay, and just a point on reserves before I go out to members.
Thank you very much. Yes, in terms of reserves, at the end of 2021-22, our total usable reserves were 7.1 million. That included about £1.5 million in general fund and then earmarked of 5.6. Now, those earmarked reserves are clearly held for future costs that we know we're going to incur. And some of those will be around initiatives that we want to implement. During 22-23, we will anticipate using about 3 million of those reserves. So if a further 1.5 is utilised during 23-24, and that's what would be necessary to meet the cost of the pay award, that leaves us 2.6. The general fund would be completely utilised, and the 2.6 would be earmarked reserves. I think the Treasurer already articulated that as part of our emergency cover review, to maintain that financial stability, we're going to have to relook to sort of review those reserves and make sure that we've got stability moving forward as well. So it does leave us, it's very, very tight. Not ideal.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it is tight. And Jock out for that. I'll bring in our Treasurer first before bringing in Councillor Owen. David, please, Jock about.
Ie, diolch. Mae Helen wedi atab y pwynt yn dechnegol, just ar y gair survive, dwi'n meddwl, be nes I iwsio'n Gymraeg oedd dygymod. What I used in Welsh was dygymod, which is probably better translated as cope rather than survive. But survive does make the point, really. We are in a difficult place.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry if the quote wasn't quite accurate, but
No, that's right.
Okay, Councillor Owen, please, Jock about.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd. Eisiau ychwanegu pwynt neu cynnig cynghorydd Austin Roberts sôn i. Dwi'n meddwl hefyd o glwad bod y Llywodraeth y Deyrnas Gyfunol mewn gwirionedd wedi dod i gytundeb a heb ariannu. Dwi'n meddwl bod o'n bwysig bod yn aelodau seneddol ni hefyd yn cael gwybod am hyn, oherwydd nhw sydd efo lle i godi'r mater yn y tŷ cyffredin ac fedru gofyn y cwestiynau cywir yn y lle yno pam nag ydy Llywodraeth y Deyrnas Gyfunol yn fodlon roid arian ymlaen i helpu dalu am hyn. A hefyd dwi'n meddwl sy'n ni fod yn gadael i aelodau Senedd wybod, oherwydd mae'r pwysau ar y gyllideb blwyddyn nesaf i ariannu Llywodraeth leol. Mae'n bwysig bod nhw'n gwybod bod yr awdurdodau tân hefyd yn mynd i fod yn gofyn am fwy arian, felly llai arian mewn gwirionedd i'r awdurdodau lleol i gyrru allan i materion eraill. Diolch.
Okay. Thanks for that. Any other points, members? Councillor Evans, please. Talking about.
I find it very annoying, very saddening that the British government hasn't put in the funding that is required, especially with the the additional pay claims which have to be met. And I personally don't accept that they can just ignore the issues and difficulties that they place in different associations, especially the fire service in. And I feel they must be pressurized. And we must go back to them again, point out the issues, point out the difficulties, point out the financial problems that we have. And they must be pressurized to find some money for us. I don't accept they can just turn it down. We have to go back to them and say, look, if you want a professional, adequate service for the Fire and Rescue Authority, you have to go back into your pockets. You have to fund us. I'm not going to just accept that they can just turn us down willy-nilly and say, sorry, we're not. I will go back to my own MP and put that to her. And I would expect her, as our last speaker said, to go back to Parliament and indicate the issues and the difficulties that this particular authority are in. I find it unacceptable.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor Bateman, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. I totally agree with all the speakers that we should definitely go back to both governments, in fact, and tell them the difficulty that this essential authority is in. But we've all felt the pain recently of trying to balance the budgets in our different areas. And speaking on behalf of Flintshire, because of the Barnett formula, we're paid 20th out of 22 of the total authorities in Wales. And yet, when it comes to funding the fire authority, we fund them the most. And there is an imbalance there. And I think there's so many things have got to be looked at when it comes to the money from both governments and to keep this essential service going. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. And Councillor Jones, please, thank you.
Dwi'n meddwl fel aelod eitha newydd o'r awdurdod, mae wastad yn handi gwybod faint da ni'n gallu trafod tu allan i'r cyfarfodydd yma. Felly, os fysa fo'n bosib cael rhyw fath o arweiniad o ran bullet points neu beth bynnag sy'n bosib gan Helen neu Dafydd ynglyn â be da ni'n gallu trafod efo'n awdurdodau, efo'n aelodau seneddol, achos dwi'n meddwl bod yn bwysig, dwi'n cytuno'n llwyr efo pawb sydd wedi siarad, mae rhaid ni lobio'n galed. Mae hwn yn benderfyniad gwleidyddol. Da ni yma fel aelodau etholedig, mae'n bwysig iawn bod ni yn lobio yn galed felly, ond dwi wastad yn amheus faint da ni'n gallu deud, be da ni'n gallu rhannu efo cyrff allanol, rhag ofn bod ni'n torri rhyw fath o confidentiality. Felly, swn i'n gwerthfawrogi rhyw fath o bwledi gan bobl sy'n bosib.
Dwi'n mynd siŵr os oes angen bwledi, Mark. Dwi'n meddwl bod nhw yna, mae Helen di roi y wybodaeth yn tudalen 21 o'r pecyn, ddweud y gwir.
Ydy hwnna'n agored?
Mae hwnna'n adroddiad cyhoeddus, mae hwn yn gyfarfod cyhoeddus, wedyn mae bob dim da ni wedi dweud ar recfod ac yn agored. Dwi'n trafod unrhyw fatar sydd ger bron heddiw.
Okay, so I'm just going to bring Matt in, if I may. So before was mentioned about me contacting the chair of the authority, Councillor Rees, to communicate with the relevant people and bodies. Are we okay to do that as a suggestion? Because that's been agreed, but I just need to check. Would that be appropriate, please, Matt?
Well, essentially, Chair, it's lobbying about the issue. And you know, just in terms of confirmation, this isn't a confidential item. It's an open report. It's an open meeting, and of course, councillors that are concerned about issues are entitled to lobby about those issues.
Okay, and a letter from the chair to the relevant governments and authorities if needed. Is that okay?
I'd understood that had been agreed, Chair.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking, but this item also can. Also needs to be confirmed in that, so that's okay. Talking about everyone. Any other points of members? Okay, I'll just bring in David, our treasurer. Is there anything we need to confirm for yourself, please?
Na, mater o nodi'r her fawr o'n blaenau ni, dwi'n meddwl, di'r bwriad gyda'r adroddiad yma.
Okay, so as long as that's minuted, please, and as I say, I'll communicate with the chair on the previous point raised, and I will move on if everyone's
Yeah,
happy.
perhaps just for the sake of procedure, if we just move and second the members note the.
Okay, can I have a seconder, please? Sorry, proposer and a seconder. So Councillor Jones and Councillor Walker, we're all happy. Okay, Giacomo, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Matt. And I will move on now, please, if that's okay, to item 9. Thank you for that, David. And your clear views on that are really helpful. Tough times, but I will move on to item 9, which regards the new training centre update. And I believe the Deputy Chief Fire Officer, Stuart, will talk us through this. Giacomo, Stuart.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report, members, is to present this committee with an update on the work undertaken on the production of a detailed business case for a new fire and rescue training and development centre in North Wales. The authority is committed to the provision of essential operational training to its staff to support service delivery and firefighter safety. And as previously mentioned in previous meetings, the Chief Fire Officers undertook an assessment during 2021, which identified training as a priority area, and the authority gave approval to undertake a full review on the future delivery of operational training and developments within the service. This review has included a review of current operational training facilities, including those at the firehouse, which is located in Dolgellau, and which although continues to be used for operational training, it requires significant investment to extend its medium-term lifespan for risk-critical breathing apparatus and firefighting tactics training, and it cannot be considered as a long-term option. It is also located in an area of North Wales, which is a considerable distance for the majority of our staff to travel and attend breathing apparatus courses, and the challenges that brings with it. Fire contaminants is always a risk to our staff, and that can be found in the smoke and toxic flammable gases released during fires, and it may contribute to cancer and other health conditions in firefighters. So the management of fire contaminants needs to be included in a new training and development centre design. And though we've put interim measures in place, the long-term management of fire contaminants is a health and safety concern at the current hot fire training facilities in Dolgellau. The review also considered the training provision delivered from Real Fire Station, and it's identified the need to invest in a new training development facilities to ensure firefighter operational preparedness and safety in the future. In particular, there is a need to provide practical, immersive training experiences across a range of scenarios that our operational crews may be required to deal with at any time in their response roles. The review of operational training facilities in the service also supports the findings of the Chief Fire and Rescue Advisor's thematic review for operational training within the Welsh Fire and Rescue Services, which recognises the need for significant capital investment required to replicate real-world conditions for firefighters to develop and refresh their operational skills. To mitigate these risks, operational training development for our staff in a realistic and immersive training environment, which includes adequate health and safety measures, needs to be at the forefront of training development centre design to provide essential facilities for at least the next 25 years in North Wales. Following approval by the Fire Authority on the 17th of October 2022 to allocate a budget for the development of a detailed business case for the new training development centre, a number of options are being explored by the project team. This work has included the identification of a suitable piece of land to locate a new training and development centre in Denbighshire. The next steps now will be for the authority to enter into a 6-month exclusivity agreement with the landowner, and this will enable the relevant surveys, sustainability assessments and discussions with local planning officers prior to the submission of an outline planning application to take place, and is expected to take approximately 6 months and include with a presentation of the business case for the land purchase to the full Fire Authority on the 23rd of October 2023. You will recall that a budget for land purchase has been included in the Fire Authority's 23-24 budget, with its conditional use following members' approval and the production of a robust business case by officers. Separate to the land purchase, the detailed business case for the new training and development centre is scheduled to be completed in the summer and be brought to members for further scrutiny and approval at that time. Members, as always, will be kept up to date and informed of progress on this project as it develops during the preceding months. And a recommendation that a working group should be created and include all Fire Authority members from each of the constituent council areas. Therefore, Chair, the recommendation is that members note the background of the review of the fire and rescue training facilities in North Wales. Note that the current training provision is reaching its end of life. Note that the next stage of the project is commenced to confirm suitability and identified land. Note the timescales set out in this report for the provision of the detailed business case for members' consideration. And finally, identify members from each constituent council to form part of a working group to help develop and scrutinise plans for the new training centre in North Wales. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you.
Okay, diolch yn fawr for that. Ready for a report, and if it just confirm, it doesn't sound like we've got much option when you talk about the condition of the present facility. So this is something we need to do, and it's fit for purpose for the future, as you say. Any questions on this item, please? Councillor Owen, please, talking about.
Diolch, Mr Cadeirydd. Cwestiwn sgynna i ynglyn â'r ganolfan hyfforddi yn Dolgella. Da chi di nodi rei o'r pethau na dim yn bosib i'r canolfan yma fforddi, a dwi'n derbyn y sylwadau nhw'n llawn wrth gwrs. Ond ydy hynny'n golygu bod y ganolfan hyfforddi yn gorfod cau yn gyfan gwbl, siawns bod yna rei pethau ar y fforddiant da chi heb sôn amdan fysa'n dal yn gallu cymryd lle yn Dolgella. Ac mae jyst yn drist gweld os di bob dim yn mynd o ardal wledig, pe mae yna ella cyfle i dal gael peth o'r fforddiant yn fanno. A dwi'n cwestiwn felly, diolch.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Owen. Yeah, well, the plan for Dolgella will be to continue training there for at least the next 5 years anyhow. If approval is given to build a new training development centre, it will take anything up to 5 years before that new training centre is fully operational. We are spending a considerable amount of money in this current year or the coming year to upgrade the extraction system at Dolgella. So the plan will be to continue to use Dolgella following any new training centre being built, and though it won't be at the full capacity that it is now. So at the moment, we do currently carry out training within the local areas anyway, and that will continue. And obviously the training centre, well, the firehouse is on the back of one of our fire stations as well. So the fire station will still be there, operational, and crews locally to that fire station will be able to continue to use it, but not in the full sense that it's used today.
Okay. Anyone else, please? Just on the recommendation, if I may, then, as the chair of this meeting, I think it would make sense if our chair, Councillor Rees, and our vice chair, Councillor Cunningham, sat on this this working group. So if members are happy that, and if Matt can confirm that that suggestion is okay, I think it's important that we do involve them. So any thoughts on that, and if Matt can just confirm that would be okay as an item to be suggested.
Chair, I think that's entirely matters for members and the committee. I don't know whether officers have any suggestions about membership. Or I would have thought that if that hasn't been discussed previously, that it might be a matter for Democratic Services managers to confirm once discussions have been had between members and Democratic Services managers. But Chair, if you want to propose that the Chair and Vice Chair are on the group, then it will be open to the meeting to make a determination on that.
Okay, just before I go to members, I'll just check that Stuart's okay with that. Did you want to come in, Stuart, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So the proposal is that we'd like a member from each of the constituent councils on. So if the chair of the authority, Councillor Rees, obviously will represent Anglesey Mon, and then Councillor Cunningham can represent Flintshire. If we can get the other 4 council areas represented as well, and whichever way that we can do that, as Matt recommends, you know, through democratic services, we can ask for volunteers. That's absolutely fine. I guess it's a call for support for this piece of work, and being members of that group, please.
Okay, so if I'm guessing, would yourself write to democratic services in each authority, Matt? Would that be the process?
Yeah, we can write following the meeting and ask for the number of members from each of the remaining authorities.
Okay, I'm just going to have members then. Are they happy with the proposal of the chair and vice chair to sit on this group? Yeah, Councillor Jones and a second, Councillor Bateman. Are we all happy with that suggestion, please? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, so can we also, I'm guessing we just need confirmation we're happy with the recommendations in total, so can I have a proposer on that, please? Okay, Councillor Bateman, and can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Walker, please. And are we all happy with the full recommendation, please? Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else on that point? Stuart, did you want to come back on anything? Are you happy with that?
No, thank you, Chair. That's
And
fine.
just a confirmation, when did you want the group to be up and running by, just so we understand the times of that, please?
Well, I think it's important we get the group up and running within the next month, Chair, please. There's a number of site visits that we'd like to carry out, you know, looking at training centres in other fire and rescue authority areas, and also showing members, you know, the site at Dolgethley and also at Rill, just so everyone has an understanding really on what we currently have and what the vision is for the new training centre in the future.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to finish that item if that's okay. Anyone else, or can I move on? Okay, I'll move on to on my agenda it says urgent matters, but I don't believe there's any, Matt. And there's no part 2.
No, Chair.
Okay, so before I close the meeting, just date of next meeting, please, Lisa. Do we have that in anywhere?
Yeah, sorry, the date of the next meeting is the 19th of June.
Okay. Okay, Jock and Val, thank you all. I think we can close the meeting. Thanks to officers, members. Good productive meeting. Have a good day. Jock and Val, to that one, Jock and Val. Thank you very much.
Good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mark, for doing a good job of the chairing.
No problem. Jock and Val, thank you.
Bye. Bye, Mark.
Ta-ra, Bob.
Thank you. Goodbye.